stress, and absolute peak performance. I want you to just stop and reflect on your own routine for a second. We live in a world that completely glorifies the 24/7 grind. Maybe you're day trading, maybe you're dabbling in crypto at 2 a.m. and surviving on 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep? The massive myth we've all been sold is that this relentless hustle is the only path to wealth. But the reality? The biological degradation is literally immense. We might be making our bank balances thicker, sure, but we are actively physically shrinking our brains. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just look at this shocking data point from the research. Are you ready for this? Just one single night of lost sleep permanently deletes 80 to 100 genes from your gene library. Permanently. Gone. No way to get them back. Think about that. What if one of those deleted genes was the exact one responsible for converting bad cholesterol into good cholesterol? Poof. Gone forever. Honestly, your bank balance really doesn't matter if your brain balance is totally bankrupt. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the hidden cost of hustling. We really need to look at the systemic damage caused by our modern environment and how our daily habits are just silently eroding our greatest asset. So, looking at the evolution of dopamine, our brains are essentially being hijacked by what researchers call cheap dopamine. If we look way back at our ancestors, they experienced, maybe 40 dopamine spikes in an entire day. The next generation, they hit about 400. But today's generation, a staggering 4,000 spikes a single day. It's absolutely wild. And this is all driven by the anticipation and reward of social media likes and just endless doom scrolling. This cheap dopamine, it causes constant crashes because you aren't earning these chemical rewards through actual hard work. You're just completely draining your focus reserves, leaving you literally unable to concentrate on real wealth-building tasks. And look, all that mental exhaustion requires deep cleaning, which brings us to sleep. I want you to think of your brain like a super busy city street. During the day, trash just accumulates everywhere. But at night, when you sleep, a nighttime cleaning crew called the glymphatic system activates. It acts exactly like a massive fleet of municipal sweepers, clearing out incredibly dangerous toxins like amyloid and tau proteins. Now, if you only sleep for 4 hours, well, that cleaning crew only does half the job. Over a decade of hustling, all that toxic garbage accumulates, pretty much paving the way for severe neurodegenerative issues down the line. Not good. Section 2, inside the stress brain. We're going to transition right inside your own head here to understand the actual anatomy of financial stress and why bad trades or mounting debt cause constant paralyzing panic. Okay, so your brain has two competing forces when it comes to money. On one side, you've got the prefrontal cortex. This is the absolute most valuable real estate in your entire body. It makes up 40% of the human brain, which is huge compared to just 7% in rats. It controls your logic, your problem solving, and your long-term planning. But on the other side, you have the amygdala. That's your emotional alarm system. When you're drowning in debt, maxing out credit cards, or making terrible trades, your amygdala triggers a massive threat response. You instantly enter a state of fight, flight, or freeze. And here's the kicker. When the amygdala fires up, your logical prefrontal cortex literally just shuts down. So the absolutely crucial point here is summarized beautifully by this quote from the source material. Worry is the interest you pay on a loan you haven't taken. Wow, think about that. When day traders or hustlers get caught in this vicious loop of fear and greed, their amygdala just stays hyperactive. Even a tiny little disturbance sets off a massive panic alarm. They lose the ability to forecast properly, they make terrible decisions, and they essentially live in a constant, heavy fog of anxiety, literally paying emotional interest on loans that don't even exist. So if debt and stress completely destroy the normal brain, how in the world do the ultra-wealthy survive? Welcome to Section 3, the billionaire brain difference. Why exactly is it that billionaire entrepreneurs can face intense media scrutiny, panicking stakeholders, and massive global crises without freezing, while a normal person completely panics over a small personal loan? The source uses a really brilliant rubber band analogy to explain this, and I absolutely love it. Think of psychological resilience as a rubber band. A normal person dealing with a sudden market crash, they have a thin, super fragile rubber band. Under pressure, it just snaps. Game over. But top entrepreneurs and peak performers, they've built a thick rubber band. Their brains are incredibly resilient, and they don't just naturally have it, they build this thicker brain through constant exposure to extreme challenges, actively learning from failures, and rewiring their neural pathways to bounce back from crises instead of breaking. It's like a mental muscle. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly how these peak performers operate on a neurological level. Actual brain scans of highly successful CEOs reveal some wild specific traits. Notice their brain waves. They produce very high alpha waves. This means the moment they close their eyes, they can instantly center themselves and find total calmness. And most impressively, they have fast access to gamma waves, the absolute fastest brain waves, which allows them to make incredibly sharp, hyper-focused decisions effortlessly, even when they're surrounded by pure chaos. They also show beautifully balanced frontal lobes. Basically, they aren't overly anxious about the future, and they aren't depressed about the past. They are just totally locked in. So how do we train our brains to act exactly like theirs? Let's get into Section 4, Neuroscience of True Manifestation. And look, we're going to completely strip away all the spiritual myths in the voodoo here. This is pure, raw neuroscience. Manifestation is actually simply hacking the subconscious mind. Try to visualize this profound analogy. Your subconscious mind is a massive, incredibly powerful, totally habit-driven elephant. It has tremendous raw energy, but it purely relies on existing beliefs. Now your conscious mind, that is the mahout, the rider sitting up on top, providing direction with just a tiny small stick, which represents your affirmations and your goals. If your logical, conscious mind doesn't provide clear, highly realistic direction, that massive elephant is just going to wander right back to its old, fearful habits. To actually get that elephant to move exactly where you want, the research points directly to this 4-step formula. Think it, ink it, link it, and sync it. You visualize it, you physically write it down, you connect it to a really deep emotional why, and then you sink it deep into your subconscious. But here's the massive secret. This entire process simply cannot happen in a stressed, fast-paced beta brainwave state. It just won't work. It absolutely must happen in a calm, slow, theta brainwave state. You literally have to quiet the noise to actually rewire the elephant's path. Section 5, hacks to rewire your brain. So how do we actually reach these calm states? How do we thicken our rubber band in real life? Let's look at the actual neuroscience-backed hacks that you can start using today. By studying peak performers all across the globe, researchers identified a very common routine, nicely summarized as the movers framework. We've got meditation to completely calm the mind, oxygenation, which is targeted breathwork to regulate the nervous system, visualization, happening specifically in that theta state, exercise, which actually increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor for better memory, reading to continuously rewire those neural pathways, and finally, sleep to ensure perfect biological recovery. Guys, these aren't just good habits. They actively physically modulate your brain chemistry. Now here is a surprisingly simple hack for you. Hydration. Did you know that when you sleep, your brain actually shrinks physically due to dehydration? It's true. And if you wake up and immediately chug a bunch of coffee, you shrink it even further. The data shows that simply hydrating with a large glass of water, especially right before a high-stakes meeting or trade, improves your decision-making by a massive 14%. That is incredible. It's literally the easiest possible way to give your prefrontal cortex an immediate, measurable performance boost. Next up, we absolutely cannot ignore the gut-brain connection. Your gut is your body's foundation. The source strongly highlights that we must avoid heavily processed foods and cheap sugars. Why? Because they completely destroy your gut lining and send toxins straight up to the brain, causing massive chronic inflammation. Healing the gut with things like raw A2 ghee is highly recommended here. Furthermore, regulating your breathing actually controls your heart rate variability, or HRV. If you want to stop overthinking, you literally can't just tell your brain to stop. It doesn't work. Breath is the only voluntary system we actually have to physically command the nervous system to calm down. So, we've covered a ton today. Hidden costs of cheap dopamine, the intense battle between logic and fear inside your head, the incredible resilience of peak performers, and the hard biological hacks to rewire your own mind. It really all comes down to consistency in the daily choices you make. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a hard look at your habits, your sleep schedule, and your daily stress levels. Is your daily routine actively building a billionaire's brain, or is it completely destroying the one you already have? Until next time, keep learning, stay focused, and seriously, take care of your greatest asset.